Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Read With Me session. I'm yours truly, Isabel Bedell, and I am here to read with you. Super excited about this one. We are on chapter 3, part 2 of this amazing book. It's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. If you haven't heard of it, make sure to get on it. You know, it's one of those fundamental books of life, fundamental books of that everyone that considers themselves a high achiever, a person with goals and aspirations, a business leader, a parent, a friend, a sibling, this is a book that will dynamically transform your life, your relationships, your overall output, and it'll just take it to the next level. So I'm super, super excited to get into it because the first part of chapter 3, we actually talked about habits. We talked about, the motivation of life. And also we talked about how everything is possible if you understand where you're going. This particular chapter, number 3, part 2, this particular video, we're going to talk about goals. We're going to start off with goals. We're going to talk about behavior. We're going to talk about game-changing, awesome opportunities for us to just get in the game and conquer the game. So let's get into it. Goals. As I mentioned before, the compound effect is always working, and it will always take you somewhere. The question is, where? You can harness this relentless force and have it carry you to new heights, but you must know where you want to go. What goals, dreams, and destinations do you desire? When I attended the funeral of Paul J. Meyer, another mentor of mine, I was reminded of the richness and diversity of life. He achieved, experienced, and contributed more than dozens of people combined. His obituary made me reassess the quantity and size of the goals I set for myself. If Paul were here, he would tell us, if you're not making the progress that you would like to make and are capable of making, it is simply because your goals are not clearly defined. If you're not making the progress that you would like to make and are capable of making, it is simply because your goals are not clearly defined. One of Paul's most memorable quotes reminds us of the importance of goals. Whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon must inevitably come to pass. Beautiful quote. The one skill most responsible for the abundance in my life is learning how to effectively set and achieve goals. Something almost magical happens when you organize and focus your creative power on a well-defined target. I've seen this time and time again. The highest achievers in the world have all succeeded because they've mapped out their visions. The person who has a clear, compelling, and white-hot burning why will always defeat even the best of the best at doing the how. That was good. If you are super, super clear on the why, you will always defeat anyone on the how. How goal setting actually works, and here's the mystery secret revealed. You only see, experience, and get what you look for. If you don't know what to look for, you certainly won't get it. By our very nature, we are goal-seeking creatures. Our brain is always trying to align our outer world with what we're seeing and expecting in our inner world. So when you instruct your brain to look for things that you want, you will begin to see them. In fact, the object of your desire has probably always existed around you, but your mind and eyes weren't open to seeing it. In reality, this is how the law of attraction really works. It is not the mysterious esoteric voodoo it sometimes sounds like. It's far simpler and more practical than that. We are bombarded with billions of sensory, visual, audio, and physical bites of information each day. To keep ourselves from going insane, we ignore 99.9% of them, only really seeing, hearing it, or experiencing those upon which our mind focuses. This is why when you think of something, it appears that you are miraculously drawing it into your life. In reality, you're now just seeing what was actually really there. You are truly attracting it into your life. It wasn't there before or accessible to you until your focus, your thoughts, and directed your mind to seeing it. Is this making sense? This isn't mysterious at all. It's actually quite logical. Now, with this new perception, whatever your mind is thinking internally is what it will focus on and all of a sudden see, and within 99.9% of the remaining space. Here's a well-born example because it's so true. While shopping for or buying a new car, you can suddenly start seeing that model and make everywhere, right? Well, it seems like there are tons of them on the streets, and all of a sudden when they weren't there yesterday, but is it that realistic? Of course not. They were there all along, but you weren't paying attention to them. Thus, they really didn't exist to you until you gave them your attention. When you define your goals, you give your brain something new to look for and focus on. It's as if you're giving your mind a new set of eyes through which to see all the people, circumstances, conversations, resources, ideas, creativity. It's all surrounding you. With this new perspective and inner itinerary, your mind proceeds to match up on the outside what you want most in the inside, your goal. And it's that simple. The difference in how you experience the world and draw ideas, people, and opportunities into your life after you have clearly defined your goals is profound. In one of my interviews with Brian Tracy, he put it this way: top people have very clear goals. They know who they are and they know what they want. They write down and they make plans for its accomplishment. Unsuccessful people carry their goals around in their head like marbles rattling around in a can. And we can say a goal that is not in writing is merely a fantasy. And everyone has fantasies, but those fantasies are like bullets with no powder in it, the cat cartridge. People go through life shooting blanks without written goals, and that's the starting point. That's a good metaphor there. I suggest that you take some time out today to make a list of your most important goals, and I recommend considering goals in all aspects of your life, not just for your business or your finances. Be wary about all of the high price of putting too much focus on any single aspect of your life to the exclusion of everything else. Go for the whole life success, balance in all aspects of life that are important to you: business, finance, health and well-being, spirituality, family and relationships, lifestyle. Who you have to become. This is who you have to become. When most people set out to achieve a new goal, they ask, okay, I have a new goal. Now, what do I need to do to go get it? It's not a bad question, but it's not the first question that needs to be addressed either. The question we should be asking ourselves is, who do I need to become? You probably know some people who seem to do everything right, but still don't produce the results that they want, right? Why not? One principle Jim Rohn taught us is, if you want to have more, you have to become more. Success is not something that you pursue. What you pursue will elude you. It can be like trying to chase butterflies. Success is something that you attract by the person you become. Wow, what a chapter. Jim Rohn coming in hot with all these amazing Life lessons over here. That was beautiful. When I understood that philosophy, wow, it revolutionized my life and personal growth. And when I was single and ready to find my mate and get married, I made a long list of traits I desired in a perfect woman for me. I filled more than 40 pages of a journal, front and back, describing her in great detail, her personality, character, key attributes, attitudes, and philosophies about life, and what kind of family she'd come from, including her culture and physical makeup, down to the texture of her hair. I wrote it in depth, what our life would be like and what we'd do together. If I had simply asked, what do I have to do to find this girl? I still might have had that butterfly chase. Instead, I looked back at the list and considered whether or not I embodied those attributes myself. Did I have the very qualities I was expecting in her? I asked myself, what kind of man would a woman like this be looking for? Who do I need to become to be attractive to a woman of this substance? I filled more than 40 pages describing all the attributes, qualities, behaviors, attitudes, and characteristics I needed to become myself. Then I went to work on becoming and achieving those qualities. Guess what? It worked. It worked. As if she were peeled off the pages of my journal and appeared in front of me, my wife, Georgia, is exactly what I described and asked for in almost eerie detail. The key was getting clear on who I'd have to be to attract, to keep a woman of her quality, and then doing the work to achieve that. Here's how to behave yourself. All right, let's map out your process for achieving the goals that you've decided upon. This is the doing process, or in some cases, the stop doing process. What stands between you and your goal is your behavior. Do you need to stop doing anything so the compound effect isn't taking you into a downward spiral? Similarly, what do you need to start doing to change your trajectory so that it's headed in the most beneficial direction? So in other words, what habits and behaviors do you need to subtract from and add to your life? It all comes down to this formula. You, choice plus behavior plus habit plus compounded equals goals. Your choices are your decisions. Your behavior is your actions. Your habits are repeated actions. And then compounded means time. That's why it's imperative to figure out which behaviors are blocking the path that leads to your goal and which behaviors will help you accomplish your goal. You may think that you've got a handle on all of your bad habits, but I'd bet good money that you're wrong. Again, that's why tracking is so effective. I mean, honestly, do you know how many hours of TV that you really actually watch a day? How many hours do you spend tuned into the news channel or keeping up with the goals and accomplishments of others on the sports or lifestyle networks? Do you know how many cans of soda you drink or how many hours you spend doing non-essential work on the computer scrolling through social media? As I emphasized in the previous chapter, your first job is to become aware of how you are behaving. Where have you fallen asleep on the job and developed an unconscious bad habit that's leading you astray? That's a good question. Not long ago, a successful executive with whom I serve a nonprofit board hired me to mentor him to improve his productivity. He was doing well, but knew he could optimize his time and output further with some coaching. I had him track his activities for a week, and I noticed something I see too often. He spent an incredible amount of time reviewing the news, 45 minutes in the morning reading the newspaper, another 30 minutes listening to the news on his morning commute, and an equal amount of time tuning in again on his drive back home. During his workday, he'd check online news updates several times, spending at least 20 minutes in total. When he got home, he'd catch the last 15 minutes of the local news while greeting his family. Then he'd catch up on 30 minutes of the sports news and 30 minutes of the 10 o'clock news before going to bed. In total, he was spending 3.5 hours with the news each day. This man wasn't an economist or a commoditist trader or in any profession that lived or died by the latest news. The time he spent with the paper and news programmers or radio and TV greatly exceeded what he needed to be a knowledgeable voter and contributing member of society, or even to enhance his own personal interest. In fact, he was getting very little valuable information through his programming choices, or rather his lack of choices. So why did he spend nearly 4 hours a day consuming it? It was a habit. I suggested he keep his TV and radio off, cancel his newspaper subscription, and set up a single industry news aggregator so he could select and receive only the news he deemed important for his business and personal interests. In doing so, immediately, he cleared out 95% of the mind-cluttering and time-sucking noises. How do you do that? No comment. That was so intense. He could now review all that mattered to him in less than 20 minutes a day. This left the 45 minutes in the morning, his commute time, and that hour in the evening for productive activities such as exercising, listening to instructional and inspirational material, reading, planning, preparing, and spending quality time with his family. He tells me he's never felt less stressed. Constant negative news has a tendency to make you anxious and more inspired. He mentions he feels less stressed and more inspired and focused than he does now. And that one small, simple change in a habit takes a huge one giant leap forward and in balance of productivity. In case that example didn't fully resonate with you because you're not a news addict, let's give this one a try. I'm pretty confident you'll be able to relate to this example because it's something that impacts so many people in our highly connected world today, myself included. It's a phenomenon psychologists call digiphrenia. It's a mental condition caused by the constant bombardment of a digital input. I discussed this phenomenon and how important it is to combat this bad habit in my insane productivity curriculum. Habits surrounding technology overuse are so common today that most aren't even aware of how much it's destroying our capacity to keep focused, stay on track, and make progress on our goals. Having these open portals, with the world having direct 24/7, 365 access to our attention, is a new reality that most haven't even figured out how to properly manage. The technology we designed to make life easier and more productive has done just the opposite. Technology is a great tool, but a terrible master. We have quickly become its slave. One member of the insane productivity, Sergio, explained it this way, saying, digiphrenia has had a large effect on my productivity. I had never realized how much time it was actually taken away from my day. The worst part is that there was no easy way for me to track how often and how long I was spending on my mobile phone. I finally installed an application that tracks how long the screen is on. I was shocked to find out that I was spending 4 to 5 hours on my device per day and that I would check it nearly 150 times a day. Pete, another insane productivity alum, revealed, I thought my behaviors were normal, but my iPhone and computer were ruling my life. I was checking my emails every couple minutes, including before bed and waking, sending text messages, checking the news multiple times an hour, checking my phone, temps, and door locks, and many more things. The distractions had a negative impact on my ability to engage with my most intimate customers and family members. My multiple computer monitors had at least 5 applications open live at all times. During phone conversations, I would also be checking RSS feeds, shopping, reading, responding to emails. And I'm happy to report that both Sergio and Pete, two of our more than 35,000 alumni, were able to regain control of their technology and kiss digiphrenia goodbye. Just like high volume, low nutrient food makes your body fat, high volume, low nutrients information makes you head fat. Let me repeat that. High volume, low nutrients food, it makes your body fat. But high volume, low nutrient information, it makes your head fat. If you allow too much distraction by technology, you will end up with diabetes of the mind. Okay, now it's your turn. Get out a little notebook and write out all of your top 3 goals. Now make a list. Make a list of the good and the bad habits that might be sabotaging your progress in each area. Write down every single one. Okay? Habits and behaviors never lie. And if there's a discrepancy between what you say and what you do, I'm going to believe what you do every time. If you tell me that you really want to be healthy, but you've got Doritos dust on your fingers, I'm believing the Doritos. And if you say that self-improvement is a priority, but you spend more time on your Xbox than at the library, I'm believing the Xbox. If you say that you're a dedicated professional, but you show up late, unprepared, and your behavior rates rats you out every single time. You say your family is your top priority, but if they don't appear on your busy calendar, they aren't really. Look at the list of bad habits that you've made. That's the truth about who you are. Now, you get to decide whether that's okay or if you want to change. Next, add to the list all the habits that you need to adopt that practiced and compounded over time. It will result in you gloriously achieving your goals. Making this list isn't about wasting energy and by getting judgmental or regretful. It's about taking a clear-headed look at what you want to improve and not going to leave you there. He mentions he's not going to leave us here because the point here is to uproot those sabotaging bad habits and plant new positive and healthy ones in their place. Okay, this is so important. In the next Read With Me, which is part 3 of this part 3 book, we're going to be able to go over the 5 strategies for eliminating bad habits. And this is going to be a game changer for so many people, because if we're able to uproot all of the negativity and we're able to get rid of that and just truly just focus on what's actually out there and commit to our goals and follow through on what we say that we're going to accomplish, I mean, how much better will your life be? How much more accomplished will you be? How much more can you give? How much more can you receive? You know? So if you're interested in that, then watch the next Read With Me session. It's going to be chapter 3, part 3, and we're going to get into it in the next one. I'll see you soon, and I hope you had an amazing, amazing day today.